Wow. Thank you, Linda. Such a pleasure to be here with everyone. It's an honor. I don't know how many of you have sat in a space like this and allowed someone like the amazing Linda Fisk to just pour all that beauty and that love onto you. It just feels amazing, right? Yay. Okay, so what I want to do to get us started, because it's 8 a.m. here where I'm at. I'm in my office. I'll be honest, ladies, I'm still in my slippers. So I want to give everyone a lot of love, like to really bring energy into our morning in our space. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna just take literally, we're gonna count to three, and we're all gonna bathe ourselves. We're gonna pull all that beauty that Linda just threw into our space, and we're gonna bring it in, and we're just gonna bathe ourselves in it, right? Because I believe that the more we can take others' energy and support each other, the bigger and the better we will feel to start our day. Are you ready? Okay, we're going to count to three, and we're all going to literally take up and bring all that energy in with a deep breath, and we're just going to shine it not only in front of us, but all the way down us. All right, are you ready? Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3, big old deep breath. Bring some energy on for yourself. Let's have fun doing it. And then we're going to whoosh it out to the ethers, into each other. All right. I really appreciate that, ladies, because truly to be able to be honored to speak on a stage like this and to share with you some of the work that I have done and created for our clients is a true honor. So thank you again for being here and kind of bringing up that vibe. So a little bit really quickly about me before I dig a little bit more deeper into really the value of going from best kept secret to world renowned brand. Others may say, oh, but I'm not a best kept secret. And it's okay to not only sit in that space, but to say, wait, what does that actually mean? And it doesn't mean that there's something wrong. It actually means most of us are just doing our thing on our day to day. We are inspiring, we are supporting, we're growing our families, our communities. And however, unless we're out of our little bubble, oftentimes we're not standing onto that global stages. And it does just take some strategic, not only partnerships, but someone that actually knows how to do it to actually allow us to break through, I guess, the fourth barrier, if you will. So a little bit about me. I've been in business for 23 years. I am an ex corporate executive. I worked for a Fortune 10 company, ran $500 million of advertising for about 10 years until one day I went to work. I used to live in San Diego. I've actually left the US about 17 years ago. I'm back this year. And I was going to a meeting driving. I don't know if any of you are in California, but I was taking the 5 freeway south to a meeting in the morning at 7 a.m. And if any of you are parents, how many of you got parents that are here? If any of you are parents, you'll know that's tricky, right? I hadn't had children at the time. So I was on my way moving and grooving and heading down the 5 freeway. I walked into a meeting and my boss, her name was Jane. And Jane was that woman that had the perfect bobbed hairdo, her lips, match usually her purse and her shoes, and everything was all perfectly done. She had her perfect little bobbed hairdo, and she was really intense. And I don't know if you've ever worked with someone or worked for someone that's just so intense that when you walk into the room, you feel like the energy is like really sticky. You ever feel that way? And you're like, okay, you're just on your best behavior, right? Like there's no way I would be able to talk and freely express myself like I am right now in that meeting, if you know what I mean. And Jane starts the meeting right on time. Everyone is poised. They're ready to go. And this woman walked in 15 minutes early. Now, if you know Jane and you know that environment, you know that is not acceptable. And this woman walked in the door and Jane literally threw her against the wall, like not physically, but she, with her energy, pushed her against the wall and said, "Why are you late?" And this woman, her lips started to quiver. And here I am wanting to take over this woman's position in corporate. And I'm watching Jane because here I am learning, right? I want to be the best that I can be in my corporate position. And she says, "Why are you late?" And the woman's lip starts to tremble. And she says, "Jane, I'm so sorry. I just dropped my 6-week-old baby girl off at daycare. And it was a really hard morning." I sat there and watched this woman's lips quiver. And Jane says, if you want to keep this job, you're going to be on time. You're going to pick your child up after work. And if you want to put food on this baby's table, this will never happen again. Now, I don't know about you, but my stomach still gets sick to think that there was a woman willing to do that to another woman and allowing this space to be filled with that type of toxic energy to another woman that had just had a brand new baby at 6 weeks. My whole perspective on what I was as not only a woman, as a leader, as someone that wanted to leave an impact on the world shifted. I didn't go to work that day. I jumped in my car and went right home. And I said to my husband, I want to have kids. He's like, yeah, we just bought a 5-bedroom house here in California. I said, I know, but I don't want to put him in daycare. And he's like, I don't care if I'm my boss's boss. We're not going to make enough money to raise children, have this 5-bedroom house, to live the life we live. And I said, I'm going to figure this out. And lo and behold, this was back in 2003. Anyone on the internet back in 2003? You remember when like email was barely cool? Like we were using it for corporate, but we didn't know how to really use it. And you're seeing all these, ads going on that this internet is taking over. Well, one night I watched a documentary of Steve Jobs, and he said, if you're not learning the digital markets now, you will be left in the dark. Now, this is in 2003, no social media. I'm like, what is a digital market? What does this even mean? And I started doing a lot of research. I started working with a gentleman by the name of Perry Marshall. If you haven't heard of who Perry Marshall is, he is the founder, and he wrote the algorithms for Google. Kind of a cool guy, very intelligent, Steve Jobs like. And I said, Perry Marshall, listen, I want to learn this digital marketing thing. Will you teach me? And sure enough, fast forward, within a year, 3 months, I quit my job. I retired my husband, Brian, from robotics engineering, replaced both of our incomes. And this is in 2004 now. And I became the first woman to make $1 million with the sales funnel before it was cool. It made a name by Russell Brunson from ClickFunnels. And I started learning the digital marketing. We became one of the first digital marketing companies that actually took every one of our clients online, building brands online. And again, before social media. So that means we became very, very good storytellers, but also more importantly, learned the value of what happens in this weird digital space. And from there, now I've not only launched 2,500 different brands, worked with thousands of clients, helping them build their online presence, but also more importantly, becoming not only a world-renowned brand, but take them out of the bubble that they're in, which they're doing epic things. Like all of you, like even myself, I'm like, I'm doing amazing things, but I'm not piercing the veil. Have you ever been experienced that space? I see Allie's like, yeah. Like where you're like, yeah, I'm doing my thing, but I want to pierce the veil. Like I want to go whatever that next level is for you. Yeah. Am I right? Have we done there? Have we been there? Yeah, me too. And I was like, how do I get out of my bubble? Because we were doing amazing things and I was working digitally and I was helping build brands. However, I was staying in my space, whether it was the speaker space, coaching space, you kind of just get in that really good space. Stages are the same. So I'm like, okay, yeah, how do I get in other bubbles? Tosh said, that's exactly what it's about. Like, how do I do something that opens the eyes of someone else in their bubble, in their network? And so that's what we started to do. I started to dig even deeper as we were building brands and running ads. I was running 3-line ads on Google. And I made a sales funnel that brought someone to a website page that had a video of me that could barely run because this was not when we had YouTube. And I would go, hi, I'm Rhonda Swan. We're going to help you. It was like really short, under like 20 seconds long. But I was sending them to an 800 number. Now, how ridiculous is that? We all know that is not the way to run things. However, it turned into a multi-million-dollar company because I then became not only a storyteller, but then I started to work on how do we then help our clients get in front of the right people that are searching, right? That are searching for what we offer, that they have a problem. So they're now starting to search on Google. What can we do to help solve their problems? And I became a master at that. And sure enough, we pretty much broke the Google algorithm and started to not only showcase our clients on has anyone ever heard of Wikipedia? Have you ever heard of a Google Knowledge Panel? You guys don't know what that is yet? Because I'm going to show you what that is. Because that a Google Knowledge Panel is where Google literally recognizes you as a thought leader in your space, and no one can compete with your online real estate, because that's actually what the internet is. It's, if you're a real estate investor like I am, it's online real estate. The moment you get your name anchored on that thing called the internet that is indexed in Google or recognized by Google as being credible, boom, it's called indexing. And the more of this type of indexing you can do with your name, your company, your keywords, the stronger your profile becomes. So there's a couple of things I want to share on how we actually get there. And building our brands is not only a lifelong legacy piece that we do, but it's also something that we have to be very strategic and mindful about. So there's a few things that we work on. It's called the 3 C's. And I will apologize. I'm gonna open up my screen and kind of navigate for you. My slides are stuck in a computer that decided to crash yesterday. So I will be able to provide you with some additional resources when we leave here today. However, I want to just get very real and raw and share with you exact data of how we can look, not only online, and what you can look for. Has anyone been published in a publication in their history here working, whether it's a digital publication or print publication? Yeah? Yeah? Few of us. Okay, great. Well, there's a lot of publications now. About 8 years ago, digital PR and media went really big, right? Companies were building websites and saying their magazines and publications, and they were doing well for as far as we could share them. As far as we could share them on our socials, as far as we could talk about them on our stages. However, what we found is most of those publications or digital PR isn't indexed by Google. And meaning Google just doesn't see that they're not necessarily credible, but has enough traffic to be indexed. And that's a really important thing for us to know, especially as women business owners, because often we'll get pitched by different companies or, hey, I want to put you in this. And we're like, okay, and it's only a couple $100, but we got to realize that what we invest in is actually what we end up getting. And most often it's not actually helping us. And so I became the advocate for women in business of how do we shine and how do we bring our brand into the space where others are not only seeing us, but we're searchable. And so we work on 3 things, the 3 C's. So you can write these down. I'll send these to you also later. But number 1 is our brand needs to have clarity, very, very clear, right, on what it is that we do. What is the problem that we can solve? And I like to tell everyone, nail one. It's like the bullseye, right? If we can nail the bullseye, we'll get points for the rings on the outside. However, unless we are so clear on exactly what the problem is that we can solve, the one problem, then people start to get confused. And if we allow people to use too much mental bandwidth to figure out what it is that we can do for them, what happens? You can put that in the chat. What do you think happens if we are giving someone so many different things and ideas, and I can do this, and I can do this, and I can do this? What happens? They don't make a decision, do they? Because we have them using too much mental confusion. There we go. They don't take action, because what happens? They're using too much mental bandwidth, and they can't figure out that, oh, you are the one that can actually help me get and solve this problem. So number 1 is certainly clarity. Number 2 is concise. The message has to be concise. So I'm going to give us a little bit of a formula right now that you can leverage and use in order to maintain or check if your brand or your message is concise. And I call it the grunt test. Anyone hear of the grunt testable message? I know it sounds ridiculous, but we're going to break it down, because the grunt test is really simple. And it means if you could go up to a caveman and tell them exactly what you do and how you do it, and they can approve, like, I get it, like, give you the grunt test, that means we're winning. That means our message is concise. And the formula is what I do and the desired outcome of the person I'm speaking to, the customer, the client, right? So our motto for my company, when people talk to me, we turn best kept secrets into world renowned brands. What I do is I take best kept secrets, and the desired outcome is a world renowned brand. Do you see how tight and concise that is? I used to run a course called the Sexy Brand Building Formula. And it was, we create sexy brands and turn them into profit-making machines. What I do is create sexy brands, but the outcome, the desired outcome of my clients, they want to be a profit-making machine. They want their brand to be a profit machine. So the concise of your message, the C, the second C, is usually the most overlooked. Because often we like to go, well, I can do this, and then I do this, and then I also can do this, and then I also do this, and I'm an advocate for that. And people are like, okay, how can I? All they're thinking is, how can she help me? Or how can we collaborate? How can we work together? And we as women, that's what we really do best. And what I find typically when I work with women, they like to share everything because we are multifaceted. However, when we get really narrow focused and say, okay, clear, concise message, I turn best kept secrets into world renowned brands with PR and media. Now I do a lot of different things. So if you can actually take that formula today, and at the end, we're going to have a bit of a Q&A and I'll kind of walk some of you through it. This will be one of the best mic droppers that you can ever have when you are not only speaking or maybe you're being interviewed, because you nail it. Okay. And especially women, we like to chat a bit and sometimes we get a little bit wordy. However, when we nail it, we can get as wordy as we want because that means that we know what we're talking about. Are you with me on this one? Yeah. All right. Awesome. Okay. And the last one is credible. All right. This is where we're going to move us into this whole PR and media conversation. I'm going to show you, physically show you what it means to be credible. Now, it doesn't mean that the opposite is you're not credible. It just means that you don't have enough assets online to say that you're credible. Silly enough, Grandpa Google is who we're actually trying to impress here. And it's because one thing. And I'm going to ask you this question, and many of you will know it. What is the first thing that you do when you are looking to either work with someone, buy something from someone, go to a restaurant? Like, what's the first things that we do these days? Right? Tosh says she stalks them online, right? How do we do that, Tosh? How do we stalk them online? I think I saw you whisper it. Anyone else do a Google or now Chat GPT? We just do it, right? Just like we do with restaurants, right? We do like, oh, let's see, what's their rating? What's their review? And so this is what I became the category queen in about 8 years ago, is that I started to watch when I would search up, let's say, a celebrity, right? And when you search up a celebrity, have you ever seen on the right-hand side, this profile of the celebrity, and you're like, oh, and you read it and you're like, wow, they're amazing. Or even a restaurant, you're like, oh, that's that profile on the right-hand side. I'm going to show you that in a minute, what it should look like. And I realized, like, if Tom Cruise is doing it, why can't I? But how can I do it? And so I started to work with a lot of different publications, of course, being in branding and PR and media. And what I found is that the commonality with every one of these celebrities and upcoming celebrities was that they were being talked about a lot online, whether it was interviews, media. And the commonality started to just show up for me when I was searching for people. And it was like, wait a minute, when I search their name, they've got all this. And at the time, it wasn't necessarily a digital publications, but they've got a lot of conversation with them. How do I get more conversation about me? Blogging came around, right? And everyone thought it was the blog. However, if your blog didn't have enough traffic, your blog wasn't getting any eyeballs. So what I've done, and if you're open to it, is it fine, Linda, that I open up my screen? Okay, you ready? I'm going to show you physically, because I know I'm talking a lot, and obviously without my slides here, it's, sometimes it gets a little bit in our head, but it's going to dial in right now, because I believe that knowledge is power, especially in women in business. Not that we like to overpower anyone. I'm going to bring this over here. Okay. Not that we ever want to overpower anyone. We just want to have the knowledge, right? We want to have the knowledge. So, Linda, may I ask, is my name and my profile showing up?
Yes, very well.
Cool. Okay. So this is what I love the most. And this is what I do the best. And that is helping you create your online presence and profile so that when you are Googled, first off, you're going to have a clear and concise message. We already know that. And when you do that and you are nailing it, someone's going to go, whoa, I need to look up this Suzanne Ekstrom. I need to look up this Dr. Sonia. Whoa, Zoe Martin, she's got it on. And so does Lara Pattison. Like, that's what we want, right? We want to be women saying, this is what I do. And I want someone to search for you. And when they search for you, this is what they should see. And this is how your profile should show up. And strategically, I'm going to show you exactly what it takes to get there. Because most of us, we just don't focus on it. We got so many things. We're wearing all the hats. We're doing all the things. We're serving clients. So what I do is I just help you keep serving your clients and help. Then I just take all of your magic and make sure that Google is aware how awesome you really are. And so this is how we should show up. So this is what happens when I'm just going to use my name, and I can pull up a few others as well to help you, give you some insights. But this is what we do in the PR and media side. The more Google sees your name and the more credible third party are talking about you, that's an index. That means Google's like, yep, there's that name. So what happens is this: the more you index, the more Google gets recognized and turned on to your name. And what happens is Google doesn't want anyone to be confused. Google wants everyone to know exactly who Linda Fisk is. And in order to do that, we have to make sure that Google knows us. And how we do this a few ways. So this is some education I want you to understand, because most of us get a little bit confused because we're like, hey, check me out. I searched myself. Look at how awesome I am. I'm awesome. I got books. I got all my social media. However, what this first section is under Google called all, this is all of your things. These are the things that you have published yourself, your websites, your social medias, and it should look that way. And, however, when we tap on news, something changes, okay? We tap on news, and instead of the all tab being like we're in Times Square going, hey, check me out. I do this. I'm amazing. I turn best kept secrets into world renowned brands. This is someone standing in Times Square saying Rhonda Swan is an expert in PR and media. She takes you from being a best kept secret to a world renowned brand with PR and media. Take a look. So if you notice under news, you'll see, like, I have my own show, like Linda had mentioned, called the Rhonda Swan Show. It's syndicated on USA Today. Boom, there's an index. There's an interview I've got. Here's another article that I was in. That was the top trailblazers. Here is, I used to host a show at NASDAQ in New York City. Here's my Forbes article. Oddly enough, there's another woman with my exact same name, same birth date, same age. So we have to compete with this type of things. And we work along with Google to make sure that they know who we are in separately than the other person. So I had dealt with this for quite some time. So I became an expert, and I have the same name as someone. Don't worry, I got you, because we can help change that, or at least help you own your namespace. But do you see the difference here? Right now, this is who's talking about you, right? So Google wants to see you being talked about. And when you're talked about and you're indexed by credible sources, and I'm going to show you how to understand what is a credible source or not, then it starts to populate what's called a Google Knowledge Panel, a GKP, okay? And a GKP is kind of what you're seeing here, right? It's my full profile. It shows that I'm an author, but it also presents on the right-hand side all of my socials. And mine's slightly different than others because I've now graduated, if you will, to having a Wikipedia page. So what initially, Google starts getting all of the indexing, and it creates this panel. When you have enough, you put all of that information on Wikipedia, and that becomes your hub. It's almost like your website becomes your hub. However, Wikipedia is one of the largest, most highly trafficked website on the internet. So it's the most credible. So have you ever Googled your name? And you may or may not have something similar to this. Or you may go, whoa, I have nothing like that. Well, don't be worried about it. It's just because you haven't focused on how to do it, right? And so this is what we work on for our clients, really help them get this full, big, strong levels of credibility. Now, if you, I think many of us are authors, is that right? Authorship is really, authorship is one of the best, right? Because it allows, and that's why I have a strong author instead of just saying entrepreneur, because I want to be known for someone that's done something. So I'm going to show you someone else's as well. This is one of our authors in my book, Women Gone Wild. Hillary Caesar, you may or may not know her, but she's got the same, right? Digital PR that is indexed. Print is beautiful, but it just sits on our coffee tables, or it goes as far as someone can share it. And it's amazing to have, yet in order to understand how powerful it is, we want to make sure that we're seen online and digitally, right? Which this is where the power comes from. So what I'm going to share with you is how you actually can look up what is not only credible, but to see what is an actual source. Because you may or may not ever decide to work with me, but if you do, great, and I can help show you. I give you all this data, but if you don't, you want to know how to check things, because no one else will ever share this. Because no one really ever shares this, especially anyone in PR and media, especially press, because they don't want you to necessarily know their data and if they're news sourced, right? So this is how we do it. We go to news.google.com. Simple, save it. Anytime someone offers you or pitches you to be on something, go, okay, let me check you out, Forbes. Are you credible? Of course, we know Forbes is, because they're the #1 top tier publication in the world. But this is how you know. See how that says Forbes is a source? That means that Google has recognized them. Now, this is something that you can do for anything that you do. Now, there's a couple other, and it's not to, take anything away from any publications, but I know some of them, but they're just not sourced, right? And so often you'll get offered to be part of certain things that may or may not be fully sourced. So you can check anytime you're offered to be in a publication, or even in a news, or even a podcast, you can double check news.google.com if it's sourced. And if it's sourced, that means that Google actually loves them and they're newsworthy and they are indexed. So I'm going to show you here. Now I have an under the hub. Did my screen just change to a digital thing? Great. Okay. I just want to make sure, because sometimes I get fast and then Zoom doesn't want to shift with me. Now, take a look at this. We all know who Forbes is, and this is the data that I have. So any publication, you can actually put something in the chat if you'd like, any publication that you're thinking of, and I'll give you some insights on it. And this is how we look at it. So how Google ranks things is on a 0 to 100. And a domain rating is actually how the strength of that publication or a website, including your own, shows up, how much traffic, where it comes from. And this is how Google ranks and says, hey, that's a credible source that I'm willing to give you an index if you're connected to it. So what happens is we not only utilize digital PR and media to build our brands, we just leverage their traffic, right? So I leverage these guys and give you all the credibility that you want and the beautiful sexiness of being in Forbes. However, you're basically saying, hey, Forbes, thanks for giving me that connection and that SEO juice that you've been taking so much time to build. So this is how we start to leverage different publications and where collaboration is the most powerful. So if you take a look, so domain rating, that's a 0 out of 100. That means that they're pretty darn strong. Their backlinks are very strong. That means others talk about them. But this is what I love the most, is their organic search, 12 million. They've got 40 million a day on traffic. Right. So when I look down here and see what just happened to Forbes already this morning, that means that over 42 million people were on Forbes's platform, on their website, searching. That's their organic traffic. I can see all this data. I know where it comes from. Right. So this is where knowledge becomes powerful. Is anyone, I'm going to undo my screen so I can see our chat. Is there any publication that anyone would like to have me search that you might have been recently in? And yeah, go ahead and place something in the chat. I'm going to scroll down here and type that in. Thanks, Linda. You said, it's clarity, concise, and credible. That's the 3 C's: clarity, concise, and credible. Okay. She Talks. Yeah, I know, Julie, right? Julie's awesome. And I think She Talks magazine is rather new, but they do beautiful work, because we've actually done a collaboration with them before on some of the events that we've had. And so I'll just show you, and this is just pure transparency, because we all should be fully transparent with everything that we do. And that just allows us to be real. Right. And a lot of companies or a lot of brands are building, right? And you can see they're building. It's building because the referring domains are growing, but they're in their infancy stages. So this is where we just want to know what we're doing is showcasing our credibility, and that we're not just wasting dollars, right? Because that's really important. Okay, let's do entrepreneur. Great. Because get just out of here. Is this helpful, by the way? Yeah. Okay, great. Because I'm kind of a nerd, really. I get really nerdy with this stuff because I realize the more nerdy you can get, the more clear and easy it is to talk about the work that you do. Yeah. Another one, entrepreneur rocks it, right? Rock solid to be in Entrepreneur Magazine, to have a feature article, to be positioned there, to have your name, your brand, your website connected to Entrepreneur is instant Google juice, instant indexing, right? And there's another notch on your credibility list that allows you to be more powerful. And when we have things like this, that means this is what this means. I'm going to give you a fast company too, is that, there we go, right? Power. This is where we want to sit. And this is actually where I tell our clients to be more patient, right? To wait and be strategic about the things that we are participating in, the right yeses. And I use this little analogy, and I say this to my daughter, and I use it often with our team, is that, have you ever heard of the lion and the field mice story? Yeah, right. Where a lion is in the jungle, and it can go crazy after field mice. It can eat as many as it wants. However, it's going to run out of energy, and it's not going to be very satiated because a field mice is so small, and it doesn't feed its family. However, when the lion is patient, it's strategic, and it waits for the right things, then they can go after the antelopes. And of course, we know what happens there, right? Families are fed. So what I always share is how to, when we're looking to build our brand that has not only credibility, it's clear, concise, and credible, it's being strategic with how we do it. And there's ways that you can get not only your own, what's called earned media, is in pitching yourself. Has anyone ever pitched themselves to a publication? Yeah. Okay. Awesome. I have an amazing pitch guide. Would anyone like to have that, exactly how to do it? And what if I said, I'm going to give you every single 7,000 of my contacts of every single press that you can ever reach out to? I have that list because I've been in the OG game. They call me the OG of PR and media. I'm going to offer that to you. I'm going to give you exactly how to reach out. But more importantly, it's how to be strategic and just offer yourself of what you do. And especially when I'm in women platforms, I'm always very open and willing to share that, because it's a way that you can really not only be seen as credible, but dominate your space. And then, of course, to have the indexing that I'm talking about. Now that's earned media. And then the other is allowing someone else to represent you, whether it's earned media, paid media, right? So we can strategically just get this thing done. And often I tell people, look, you either have time or you have money. Most people that have time, right, they're willing to go for it. And then when they get enough money, they hire me. Or they're ready to jump through the hoop right away and to jump right in. And so I know that my time is limited, Linda. So I want to kind of, wind it down here. But to share with you not only the importance of being strategic and mindful right now when we're building our brand, because everything that we do, especially now more than ever, is mattering. And to own our namespace, make sure, of course, you probably all have it, but ownyourname.com. Just ownyourname.com, right? You have to own that space. Certainly your websites, make sure that it's exact. All of your bio on every social media and website should and has to be the exact same. That way, Google doesn't get confused. Remember that mental bandwidth that humans use? Google gets confused also if we're talking about too many things. So we have to be really clean, clear, concise, and of course, credible by leveraging other publications like your bio. Once you get in Forbes or in Entrepreneur, and maybe it's New York Weekly, like we have to build our way up, and we use tier 2 publications to do that. What are full features? They're maybe not a Forbes yet, but we help you build up so that indexing begins. So it's never too late, and it certainly is never too early to begin indexing your name, building your brand, so that you are seen as not only the credible source, but also the chosen in your niche. Okay, so I'm going to stop there, Linda.